Okay, so I may have mentioned this before, but one of my natural talents is to take apart a whole chicken down to its component parts in a fairly short amount of time. So I decided to video it in case anybody had ever wondered how you take apart a whole chicken. Whole chickens can be really great. You can get 2, 3, 4 meals out of one. And if you're really watching your budget like we are here in London, then it's really, really useful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to angle this computer down to the cutting board and you can see what I'm doing. So what you'll need for this is a very sharp knife. I can't remember where we got this one, probably just at a kitchen store. We do keep our knives very sharp, have a sharpener, but the sharper the knife, the easier this is going to be. The whole process of taking apart a chicken is really kind of like taking apart a puzzle or putting a puzzle together. You just kind of have to figure out what goes where. So I'm going to go ahead and angle this down. Okay, so as you can see, this is a 3 to 4 pound chicken here. It's, open on both ends. Now this particular one did not come with giblets or anything like that, so I didn't have to worry about that. Now, I did start this before I started the camera. So one of the things that I did is, if you look right here, you'll see that this is basically open all along the body cavity. And the skin is still on the legs. See, this is your thigh and your drumstick, and it's still on the breasts, which is really good for what I'm using this for. I'm making stuffed chicken breasts tonight. So just to show you what I did, I basically grabbed hold of the chicken leg as best I could from this angle, and took the sharp knife and very, very gently parted the skin while holding the chicken up like this. And what that does, and I'll show you this way, what that does is allows gravity to work for you. So you're just basically holding it in the skin parts, and you can just kind of follow it back around. Now I've cut it all the way back to the oysters back here. Not sure if I'm going to be able to get those off in one piece, but we'll see. So I've done that on both sides, you'll notice. And then what I did after that, after you do that with the skin, is you want to cut the membrane that is going to be right here. So it's under the chicken breast, and it's just like a little, like a fatty membrane, like this. This is the piece of it. And you just basically slice it along the breastbone until you hit the ribs, which are actually right here on the chicken. So basically what you have now is the only thing that is holding the top of the chicken to the bottom of the chicken right now is the spinal cord. Now, for the sake of this video, we don't have to actually go through, taking the spinal cord out, but that's going to be right here, right there. So the very first thing you want to do is, after you've cut all the way back like this, you'll notice it's cut like even back here. So that parts the skin and pulls away from the meat. Now, what you want to do is you want to look inside the chicken here, like this. And if you look really carefully, you can see the 2 hip bones, which are right here. Now, if you reach around the back, you basically do the same thing. So you feel around where the 2 hip bones are. What you're going to want to do is you want to dislocate those hip bones now that you've got the skin and the membrane. So what you do is you grab the chicken like so, with your 4 fingers under and your thumbs over. You place your thumbs on the bone, on the hip bones like this, and you basically just twist backwards. And what you're doing there is just dislocating the hip bones. As you can see, the knob of the hip bone is popped out right here. So once you've done that, the only thing that's really holding this chicken together is now tendons and meat and things like that. So what you want to do is you want to go to where you see this little knob here. As you can see where it's popped out of the socket. Now, I didn't cut the bone or anything like that, so it's just this here. So then what you want to do is you want to slide your knife behind the bone, like this, and while you're holding the chicken leg, and you push it all the way through to the other side, like so. And then you just very, very, very carefully just, slide it up through the meat. And you want to do the same thing all the way through. And you'll see there's some tendons and things here that you do have to cut through. And they're a little bit tough, but with a little bit of care, just basically put your knife right up against the ball socket, or the socket part of the ball and socket joint, and you just slide your knife really carefully through the flesh. And what you have there is a full chicken leg, full chicken quarter, like that. Now for this particular, what I'm doing with this particular recipe, I won't be taking apart thighs and drumstick, but well, I may not, we'll see. But you basically want to do the same thing. So you've dislocated the socket on this side here, as you can see. You've dislocated the socket, and you basically just want to take your knife and slide it in between the socket joint, like so. And slide that around like this. And of course, using a very sharp knife, you do have to watch your fingers. You have to know where your fingers are and everything on this. So there we go. And if you look, in this particular one, the actual hip joint came off itself. That doesn't always happen, but when it does, it's perfectly fine, and it's normal to do that. So I'm going to take that off because I don't need it. It's just an extra piece of cartilage that is not going into the pot for cooking. So you just trimming that off. So that's just waste piece. And once again, what you have is a full chicken leg quarter. Now the leg quarters are pretty easy to take apart. As long as you follow the lines of the body, you're fine. Now the breasts are a little bit more difficult, and the reason being is because you're not really there's not a joint necessarily for you to be taking apart. So what you have to do is basically very slowly carve off the breast. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start by finding the breastbone here, and I'm going to make an incision with my knife just along the breastbone through the skin. Now I'm not actually cutting into the breastbone. What I'm actually doing is cutting alongside where the breastbone is. You do that all the way up to the wishbone, which is up here. As you can see, it's up here. Now this is the breastbone here. Let me cut the skin so you can see this. Here's your breastbone. That looks like this particular one. Oh, nope, there's the wishbone. It looks like we actually cut through the wishbone accidentally, which is not something that you really want to do. But what I'm doing is I'm carving along the cartilage to one side of the breastbone here. So you just cut it like this until you've parted it down here. And then what you want to do is you take your knife and you basically very carefully scrape the meat off of the ribs. So you go under the meat here like this. You just scrape the meat off the ribs with your knife. And as you can see up here, it's like some cartilage and the remainder of the wishbone, which is this little thing right there. And you just go around it, avoid the shoulder joint, being that is just more bone that you don't want to mess with. And you just cut it all the way through. So what you have is chicken breast with the skin still attached. Now, in this case, because we cut the wishbone accidentally, I'm going to have to take a knife, get behind the wishbone, and just basically very carefully, since my fingers are right there, cut the wishbone out of the chicken breast. Now we have one chicken breast. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. As you can see, here's the keel bone, or the breastbone. I'm just going to go down the side of the breastbone, being very aware of where the knife and my fingers are in relation. Then once we get here, I'm going to start from the bottom. See, this is your rib bone here. And you just slowly just slice the meat back. Looks like this one's going to come off a lot cleaner, which is good. You just slice the meat on back. slice it until you get to just where you've just got skin. Then you cut through that skin, you know, keeping a firm hold on the chicken. Okay. All right. So again, we're gonna have to look for the other half of the wishbone in this. Actually, it looks like I cut around it, which is great. So again, you have just good solid chicken breast with that. Now, I usually don't do the wings. I don't like the wings particularly. They're not yummy for me, unless I'm eating hot wings, and 2 wings is not enough for that. So I am going to actually show you how to take apart this thigh and drumstick. Now, this is actually a pretty cool thing to know, because you can get chicken leg quarters for next to nothing, like just at your regular grocery store. So again, it's going to be along the same lines. If you want to make sure you know where the joint is. So right now I'm feeling for the joint, and that's going to be the ball and socket joint. Now, in the case of thighs and legs, what you want to do is you want to hold the quarter like this, and you want to bend it inward. So you've got basically it fully clenched like this. And what that's going to do is it's going to put some stress on the joint there, and it will slightly separate. Now you make a small incision right up here at the top. As you can see, there's the bone. What you're going to want to do is you hold it very firmly. You basically just carve around the joint. Just very carefully carve around the joint. See, now we've got the joint mostly open. And as you can see, there's your ball and socket joint. And you want to make sure that you get the connecting tissue and the tendons. The tendons can actually be very difficult to cut through if you are, if you don't place them right. Unfortunately, they are, I mean, obviously they're tendons, so they're built to support the weight, you know, of the bird, but they are kind of tough to get around. So basically what I've done here, as you can see, like there's a little bit of a, you know, you see that white, that's a tendon. And you're going to want to cut that apart. Now I'm going very slowly for the sake of the video because I want you guys to be able to see what I'm doing. But in my super talented self, I can actually do this whole thing in less than 10 minutes. It's not all that difficult, and it's just something that just kind of logically made sense to me. Once you start thinking about the way the body's put together, it's very easy to figure out how to take it apart. And so what we're going to do here is I've got the thigh separated in the joint, so I'm just cutting through the last of the muscle and the tissue. And there we go. A nice drumstick, just like that, the skin on it. And we have a nice thigh piece. You can see the ends of the bone here. Nice thigh piece also with the skin on it. So that's what you would do for the chicken leg quarters. So I'm not going to do the other because I think that's probably enough. But usually what I do is I break these into days. So I'll have chicken breast one day, and we'll have chicken leg quarters or thighs another day, and then I'll usually use the carcass for chicken stock. So it's worked really well for me so far. So hope you guys enjoyed that. That I know it's a little bit graphic, but if you ever were curious about how to take apart a chicken, that's how you do it. Having some trouble stopping my video.